What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 320. We have Magomed Ankalaev going against Alex Pereira 2, and I can't wait for this card. This card's stacked from top to bottom. We have 14 fights on the card, and yeah, from a betting perspective, it's very interesting because we have 14 fights, and I think 2 of those fights are somewhat closely lined. Other than that, we have a lot of massive favorites. The parlay boys are back in town. They're adding to their parlays for this pay-per-view card. So we got a lot of chalky lines and a lot of very interesting fights. So can't wait to break it all down. Before we do so, if you guys could do me a couple favors, huge favors, like the video, let's get those likes up. Subscribe to the channel. Would mean a lot as well. Trying to reach 30K subs by the end of the year. We have about 3 months to do it. So if you guys do enjoy the content, please be sure to subscribe. And then also leave me a comment. All 3 of those things, they're free and they mean a lot and they go a very long way. Since it is a big pay-per-view card, I'm going to be bringing back the Significant Strike Contest. To enter the contest, like, subscribe, and then comment down how many significant strikes you think that Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev are going to combine for. It's going to be $25 to first. If there's a tie, the tiebreaker is going to go to the person that commented first. So be sure to comment down the significant strikes between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira. And lastly, this video is sponsored by absolutely nobody. Nobody is sponsoring this video today. And we appreciate it. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. You know, we take what we can get. And today's show is sponsored by nobody. So with all that out of the way, I say we get into the first fight of the card, and it's going to be Veronica Hardy going against Brogan Walker. We got Veronica Hardy, the second biggest favorite, at minus 825. Brogan Walker sitting at plus 575. And like I said, the parlay boys are back in town. They're adding Veronica Hardy to the parlays, and she's up to minus 825. And, you know, should she be minus 825 against anybody? Probably not. But she's fighting Brogan Walker, who's 36 years old. I can't read. I need to get glasses or something. 36 years old. She hasn't fought in 2.5 years, and I'm just not sure what she's doing here. Why is Brogan Walker, you know, fighting this week? Like, it makes no sense. I could have sworn she retired. She looked awful against Juliana Miller. For some reason, the UFC let her back in there against Yasmin Lucindo and looked awful against Yasmin Lucindo. And now she takes 2.5 years off, and it's like, what's really going to change? Probably nothing. So, yeah, this fight makes no sense. This is borderline not even a real fight. We'll talk about a fight later on that's not a real fight. This is borderline not even a real fight. Veronica Hardy would have to try really hard to screw this one up. And quite frankly, if Hardy loses this fight, she probably threw the fight or something. Something crazy would have to happen for Brogan Walker to ever get a win in the UFC. So, yeah, Hardy should win this fight. I think she's better everywhere. She's the better striker. She's the better wrestler. Although Walker is a black belt, I think Hardy's the better grappler. Hardy should win this fight more often than not. So give me Veronica Hardy. Veronica Hardy by decision. Next up, we have Austin Vanderford going against Ramiz Brahimaj. We got Vanderford, who is minus 300. And Ramiz Brahimaj is plus 250. Another wide line here. And I think Ramiz Brahimaj is a guy that is somewhat live here, but live in the first round. You take a look at Brahimaj when he's typically winning fights. He's winning them in the very first round, sometimes in the first 2.5 minutes of the second round. You know, he hasn't really won a fight that's gone past that 7.5 minute mark. And we've seen, you know, back in the day, you know, Court McGee take this guy down, you know, especially later in the fight. Ramiz didn't look so great. He's slowing down, doesn't have much left. You know, once that fight gets extended, we saw Themba Gorimbo go out there, you know, take down Ramiz Brahimaj over the course of 15 minutes. You know, didn't really look that great in that fight. But, you know, he's rattled off back-to-back first-round finish wins, had that knockout win against Mickey Gall, and had that submission win against Billy Ray Goff. And I kind of think if he's winning this fight here, he's going to have to, you know, catch Vanderford with something. He's going to have to either knock out Vanderford on the feet, which, you know, Vanderford has been knocked out in both of his losses, or he's going to have to submit Vanderford in that first round, which I think is going to be very hard to do because Vanderford is a good grappler. So if you like Ramiz, I'd probably take him to win in round 1, but I think the more likely scenario is Vanderford survives an early storm, where there's an early storm, extends the fight, starts mixing the takedowns as the fight goes on, and if guys like Themba Gorimbo, you know, guys like Court McGee are taking down you and controlling you, I think Austin Vanderford should do exactly that. So give me Vanderford here. I'm going to take Vanderford to win this fight by decision. Up next, we got Punahele Soriano going against Nikolai Veretennikov. And by the way, look how terrifying Nikolai looks in that. That's just a very, very terrifying picture, a very terrifying haircut. Whereas you see Soriano there has a much more cleaner haircut. And I'm going with the cleaner haircut here. I like Soriano. And, a big thing that's, I think people are missing this week is welterweight Puna. Welterweight Puna seems to be like a different animal. I mean, he seems to have a different mindset. Seems to be taking his strength and conditioning very seriously. He's in the best shape of his life. I mean, he's in incredible shape. The cardio looked amazing in the Miguel Baeza fight where he took down Miguel multiple times, got on top, and he landed over like 300 ground strikes. I mean, it was a ridiculous performance. Knocked out, what's his face in the next fight? Medic, right? Yeah, Medic. He knocked out Medic in his next fight, and now he's taking on Nikolai Veretennikov, who I actually think is like a skilled striker. But, and the thing is, like, if Puna goes out here and he kickboxes with Veretennikov at distance for 15 minutes, I think Soriano could knock him out, but I think that's, giving Veretennikov his best chance here. But Veretennikov, I think he has some of the worst cardio in the division. I mean, the cardio he displayed in his last fight was just absolutely awful against Prado. Quite frankly, I don't really believe he won that fight, and it was against Francisco Prado, who probably should be fighting at featherweight. And it was a bad look. He was gassed out. He was doing spinning tired kicks, getting his back taken multiple times. Showed awful fight IQ in that fight. And if a featherweight and Francisco Prado's taking it down, why can't Punahele Soriano take you down, who's a very big welterweight, very strong welterweight, and a guy that's fought at middleweight the majority of his career. So I think if you're Puna here, just wrestle this guy. If you wrestle this guy, you're going to get him tired. And if you get him tired, I think you can finish him on the mat. And Veretennikov has one of the worst ground games I think I've ever seen in my entire life. If he gets put on bottom, he's typically staying on bottom, and he'll look for the door. We saw Vanderford TKO him in the second round, and I think Puna can do something a little bit similar if he goes out there and gets the fight down to the ground and wrestles and makes him work. So I'm going to take Soriano here. I think he makes this look really easy with the correct game plan, but it's kind of like a fight IQ test. We'll see, but I like Soriano. Give me Soriano by second round TKO. Up next, we have Patchy Mix going against Jakub Viklac. We got Patchy Mix minus 300. Viklac is plus 250. And yeah, so Patchy Mix absolutely dropped the ball in his UFC debut. I think a lot of people are still very pissed at him. Hopefully nobody pissed on him. Oh my God. Hopefully nobody did that. But people are pissed at him, man. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people had money on Patchy Mix in some sort of fashion, whether it was a parlay, whether it was a sub prop, like I had money on the sub prop. And yeah, I was a little upset with the guy. But I think it's a very, very good buy low spot, and that's kind of why we're seeing money start to pour in on Patchy Mix throughout the week. It's like, this is kind of a very good matchup for Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix is a very high-level grappler, and Viklac is a grappler. It's a grappler versus grappler matchup, and Patchy Mix is just a much better grappler, just much higher level. I think Mix is pretty much better everywhere. I think Mix, although doesn't have the best striking, and his striking looked really bad against Batista, but Mix is the better striker here. Mix has fought the much better competition by a mile. I mean, you look at Viklac, this guy fought the same guy like 5 times. I was taping this guy's fights, and it's like I'm watching the same 2 guys fight 5 different times. It's ridiculous. Whereas Patchy Mix is fighting some very high-level guys. Losing to Mario Batista, it's not a bad loss. I think Patchy Mix kind of reminds everybody that, yeah, he is a really good fighter. He's not some complete bum, and I think he makes this look quite easy. So, yeah, Viklac, this is a guy that's going to wrestle. He's going to grapple, and I think that's going to kind of play right in to Patchy Mix's game. Viklac can shoot some really sloppy takedowns, and I kind of think that's going to get his neck snatched up. So I like Mix. I think it's going to be some sort of front choke, maybe a guillotine. So I'm going to say Patchy Mix by sub. So Patchy Mix by sub. And I think he gets back on track after just completely crapping the bed in his last fight. Up next, we have Macy Chiasson going against Yana Santos. We got Macy minus 200. Yana Santos plus 170. Look at Macy there. Great haircut. And you know what they say about great haircuts. You have a great haircut, you have a great performance. And I think Macy's going to have a really good performance coming up this Saturday. Yana Santos, she got me in her last fight against Miesha Tate. I really liked Miesha Tate in that fight. But why did I like Miesha Tate in that fight? Because I thought Miesha Tate would wrestle and get the fight down to the ground, and Miesha wasn't able to really do that until the third round, right? And once Miesha Tate got on top of Yana Santos in the third round, I mean, she almost finished her. I mean, Yana Santos on bottom is very, very bad. And you look at Macy Chiasson, she's a good top. She's a very good top player. And Macy's a finisher. She has very nasty ground and pound. She has a submission game. Yana Santos has been knocked out like 3 times in the UFC. It wouldn't shock me if Macy was able to get on top here and finish the fight. I mean, we saw 43-year-old Holly Holm get on top of Yana Santos in that second round and almost TKO her. The ref was looking very closely. So I think this is a spot where Macy can kind of go out here and maybe show that this is kind of like a showcase fight. Like, it's a great matchup. Just get the fight down to the ground, get on top. And if you get on top of Santos, I think you're going to be much, much, much better there. But if Macy goes out there and it turns out she's not able to get takedowns, which I don't think that's going to be the case, but that's kind of where Santos would have some success. But no, Macy should get takedowns. Yana Santos has a 52% takedown defense. There's no reason why Macy shouldn't get takedowns, get on top here. And I know she burnt a lot of people, Macy, in her last fight against Ketlen Vieira, but Ketlen Vieira has and I've always said this, Ketlen Vieira has some of the most elite takedown defense for any female fighter really ever. I mean, a 90% takedown defense for Ketlen Vieira, and of course Macy's not able to take her down. Even Kayla Harrison really struggled to take down Ketlen Vieira and went 2 for 8 on takedowns. So yeah, I think Macy wins here. I think she gets on top. I think she gets takedowns, and I think she finds a finish. I think she finishes Yana Santos. I'll say 3rd round submission for Macy Chiasson in this fight. Up next, we have the closest line fight on the card. It is Daniel Santos going against Ju-Sung Yu. We got Daniel Santos minus 140. Ju-Sung Yu is plus 120. And I think Yu will probably be the most popular dog on the card. And that's pretty much because there's not a ton of closely lined fights. So this is the closest line fight, and it's like, I don't know, this is one that I'm personally staying away from because there's a lot of missing information on Yu. Ju-Sung Yu hasn't really fought anybody. We saw him make his debut against Jekka Sergey, and I cashed on the under 1.5. But I mean, that's Jekka Sergey. Jekka Sergey's not great at all. This is going to be a massive step up in competition. And although I'm not a fan of the fact that Daniel Santos is a bantamweight fighting up at featherweight, I'm not a fan of Daniel Santos being so hittable. What I am a fan of is that last performance. These couple last performances from Daniel Santos. He's going out there and showing that he's very tough. He has a ton of heart, and he can mix it up. He can mix in the wrestling, and that's what he did in his last fight. And it was very impressive. He went out there and took down Jung Young Lee 6 different times. We saw him take down Johnny Munoz 3 times. Saw him take down John Castaneda a couple times. So, I mean, this guy's completed over 10 takedowns his last 3 fights. And, I'm watching Ju-Sung Yu, who, I want to be excited about, this guy. And this guy looks like a really fun fighter. And he had that nasty knockout, but I'm watching this guy's fights, and it's like he's getting taken down by, nobodies. And it's happening a lot. It's happening way too much for my liking. So, maybe Ju-Sung Yu can catch Daniel Santos, but I think that's just going to be easier said than done. Daniel Santos, although hittable, he's just very tough. He's a shoot-to-box guy. And these guys have, very tough. They can take a shot, and I just think Santos is a clear path here with just mixing in the wrestling, and I think he actually has a pretty big advantage in that area. So I'm going to take Daniel Santos here for the pick. I'm going to take him to win this fight by decision. On the feet, I think it's going to be a banger, but I think the difference is going to be just the fact that Santos can mix in the takedowns. He can kind of dictate where this fight takes place, and he's been doing that, and I think he can do that here against Ju-Sung Yu. Up next, we have Farid Basharat going against Chris Gutierrez. We got Basharat minus 450, Chris Gutierrez plus 350. Another big favorite here in Basharat, and it makes sense to me. I mean, Chris Gutierrez, I'm not a big fan of this guy. I mean, his fights are just horrible to watch. I mean, he's a specialist, and his specialty is leg kicks. He's a very good leg kicker, but he doesn't really throw his hands all that much. He doesn't offensively grapple. He doesn't have a ton of power. When Chris Gutierrez is winning fights, it's typically a low-paced, slow-paced fight that goes to decision, and it's just not the best fight in the world. And I'm watching these Gutierrez fights, and it's like he's getting taken down by guys who he really shouldn't be getting taken down by. Like John Castaneda won a round off of him in his last fight. Kwang Lee, out of all people, took him down and won a round off of him 2 fights ago. We saw Alateng Lee take him down. We saw Danat Bakary take him down. We saw Felipe Caloric win a round off of him back in the day. So it's like he's getting taken down by much, much, much less wrestlers, grapplers, than like a Farid Basharat. So I think there's a reason Basharat's a big favorite. The path to victory is there with the wrestling. And even on the feet, it's not like Farid Basharat's at some massive disadvantage, right? Like on the feet, it's probably, very competitive. It's just Farid has a massive, massive, massive advantage when it comes to the wrestling, the grappling. I don't think Gutierrez has the best takedown defense, and I think Gutierrez has an awful get-up game. Awful get-up game. He'll get taken down, and he'll pretty much just lay there, close his guard, and that's the round. So, yeah, give me Farid Basharat. I think he wins this fight by decision. Up next, we have Edmen Shahbazyan going against Andre Muniz. We got Shahbazyan minus 310. We got Andre Muniz sitting as a plus 260 underdog. And it's interesting with Muniz. Since Muniz first got to the UFC, I've been saying it from the start. I've been saying that this guy has no chin. This guy's chinny. And he's proved me wrong, a decent amount of times. Like, I've picked against Muniz, quite a few times, and the chin kind of held up for a while, but I think the chin's starting to go a little bit. I mean, if you're getting TKO'd by Paul Craig, I think we have a serious problem. Got knocked out in his last fight against Ikram Alaskara, which that's not the worst look in the world, but it was just a weird, awkward reaction to getting hit. He got hit. It looked like it barely touched his chin, and just like one of those really delayed type reactions, which you don't like to see. We've seen it before with the, I think it was Edson Barbosa, Shane Burgos. It kind of looked like that, just like a weird delayed reaction on a shot that looked like it barely landed. And I just think the chin of Muniz is dust. I mean, this guy's been knocked out 6 times. You know who else has got knocked out 6 times? Jamie Mullarkey. So I think Muniz might be up there, pound for pound, with one of the worst chins in the UFC, up there with guys like Jamie Mullarkey. Muniz has 7 losses, all 7 come inside the distance. I don't think Muniz has the best striking, the best chin, the best cardio. We talk about Edmen's cardio. I think Muniz might even have worse cardio than Edmen. So, Edmen Shahbazyan, he's dropped the ball a few times, but I feel like in this fight here, it's like in the first 7.5 minutes, I think Muniz is going to have a very tough time taking down Edmen. I think he's going to have a very tough time outstriking Edmen, and I just see Edmen knocking out Muniz, touching the chin at some point. Shahbazyan has a lot of power. Muniz doesn't have a great chin. I think Shahbazyan knocks him out, and probably in the very first round. So give me Edmen Shahbazyan to win, and Edmen Shahbazyan to win by first round knockout. And oh boy, here it is. We got a Teba Gaudier going against Tristan Vines, and I mean, what's happening this Saturday is it's disgusting. It's inhumane. The matchmakers should be ashamed of themselves. The matchmakers should probably be in prison for what's about to happen this Saturday. I mean, how the commission can allow a fight like this to go down is beyond me. But I'm very worried. I mean, to say I'm worried about Tristan Vines is an understatement. I truly believe that we might witness the first death in UFC history this Saturday if this fight takes place. There's still time. There's still time for Vines to pull out. There's still time for the commission to step in. But if the cage door closes and this fight starts, I think we might lose Tristan Vines. So it's Gaudier by first round knockout. And if you will, just a moment of silence for Tristan Vines. Just keep your thoughts, your prayers with him. Just a moment of silence for Tristan Vines here. Thank you. Sickening. I feel like the next card, I think it's in Brazil. They're gonna do like a memorial video for Tristan Vines with they'll probably have the every night in my dreams I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you. Go on. Near, far, wherever you are, I believe that the heart does go on. Once more, you open the door. The heart does go on. Godier by first round knockout. Up next, we have Joe Pyfer going against Abus Magomedov. We got Joe Pyfer minus 260. We got Abus is plus 220. And yeah, so I mean, Joe Pyfer, there was a lot of hype on this guy. And then the Jack Hermanson fight happened, and then all the hype died down. I think we're going to start to get that hype back, and I think this is the fight where he gets all that hype back, because I think it's going to be a great performance from Joe Pyfer, right? I was going back, and I watched that Kelvin Gastelum fight, and in the first round, some of the shots that Joe Pyfer was landing, I kid you not, they knock out 99.9% of the middleweight division. And the 0.1% it doesn't knock out is Kelvin Gastelum. I don't know how Kelvin Gastelum ate those shots, but it just sounded like, I don't know, it sounded like somebody took a baseball bat to Gastelum's head. I mean, some of the punches that Pyfer landed, and he dropped Gastelum multiple times. He was very close to finishing Gastelum. It's like, it's hard to imagine Pyfer not landing here, not landing hard here. And Abus gets hurt all the time. Abus got hurt multiple times in the Bruno Ferreira fight in that second round. We saw Bruno Ferreira on death's doorstep against Kyle Bahayo. I'm actually shocked Kyle wasn't able to finish him, but Kyle dropped him bad in the third round. We saw Sean Strickland, of all people, knock this guy out. Abus has been knocked out, several times throughout his career. He's now 35 years old. We talk about the cardio of Pyfer. Abus's cardio might be even worse. So, yeah, I think minute for minute might be close. Abus does have some good tools. Abus can mix in the grappling, but I don't think he has the cardio to mix in the grappling, especially against Pyfer. And yeah, minute for minute, strike for strike, it's going to be close, right? But the power is going to be the big difference. Abus has power, but Pyfer has power, a lot of it. And I think that power is going to lead to a first round knockout. So give me Joe Pyfer. Give me Joe Pyfer by first round KO. Up next, we got Yusuf Zalal going against Josh Emmett. We got Zalal minus 500, Emmett plus 375. This is probably my least favorite fight on the card. I think it's an easy win for Zalal. I think he's getting Emmett at the right time here. This is a guy in Zalal who, got cut from the UFC, and he's came back and he's looked better than ever. He's in his prime, 29 years old, whereas Josh Emmett, he's 40 years old at featherweight, and we typically don't see that. We typically don't see, 40-year-old fighters fighting at these lower weight classes, especially at a high level. So, yeah, Zalal is getting Emmett at the right time. Zalal should be able to use that speed, that footwork, keep on the outside, avoid the big shot, mixing the occasional takedown. It seems like a pretty easy Zalal and Zalal by decision here. So give me Yusuf Zalal by decision. Up next, we got Yuri Prochazka going against Khalil Roundtree. We got Yuri minus 170, Khalil sitting as a plus 145 underdog. And yeah, Yuri makes no sense to me. I mean, this guy literally blocks punches with his face. He has some of the worst strike and defense you'll ever see, a 43% strike and defense. And at these higher weight classes, that's something you typically don't want. But Yuri's shown it time and time again, like it doesn't matter. I think Yuri's just built different. He's one of these guys, and I'll never forget the first time I saw Yuri Prochazka fight. I was taping this guy a couple years ago, and he's literally blocking punches with his face. And I'll say that, every once in a while, I'll say, oh, this guy blocks punches with his face. But no, Yuri's actually blocking punches with his face. He's headbutting punches. I was watching one of these fights, and it's like he's headbutting jabs. He's headbutting his opponent's jabs. And it's like, what are you doing, Yuri? And then I saw a clip, this week. He was on bottom, and he was getting, ground and pounded. and he was headbutting the shots coming down. It's like, this guy's a madman. I mean, this guy's terrifying. This is a guy, like, if they were to make a horror movie about any fighter in the UFC, it's Yuri Prochazka. This guy's a terrifying individual. I wouldn't want to be in the same room in this guy. I wouldn't want to be in the same zip code as Yuri Prochazka. This guy's just an animal, a freak. So yeah, although he blocks punches with his face, he's super tough, and the only one that's really been able to take advantage of that was Alex Pereira. And how I kind of see this fight playing out is, I think in the first round, it's going to be a slower paced fight. Yuri's going to try to act technical, try to be very technical, low paced fight. Roundtree's going to probably have some success, land some good leg kicks, land some good shots on the very hittable Yuri. But it's something I've noticed with Yuri in all of his fights. Once the second round hits, he goes full, what, and throws the game plan out the window, throws being technical out the window, and he comes forward and he tries to break you. We saw in the Rakic fight, he was getting his leg beat up badly. He was getting hurt in the early going. But a flip switched in Yuri in that second round, and he just came forward. He swung his big dick, and Rakic could not withstand that big dick. And I think it's going to be the same thing here. Roundtree might have some success early, but once Prochazka pulls out that dick, comes forward, starts swinging it, we've seen Roundtree broken before, and I think he's going to get broken here. So I like Yuri Prochazka to win this fight. I think he's going to break Khalil as the fight goes on. I'm going to take Yuri Prochazka by second round knockout. All right, we got the co-main event here. Before we get into it, if you guys have not already, be sure to comment down these significant strikes for the main event. Magomed Ankalaev, Alex Pereira, $25 the first. If there's a tie, the tiebreaker goes down to the person that comments first. So comment down those significant strikes between the main event, Ankalaev, Pereira. But we got the co-main event here. We got co-main event, Merab Dvalishvili going against Corey Sandhagen. We got Merab sitting at minus 400, Sandhagen sitting at plus 300. And this is one of those fights where I think it's going to be competitive, close-ish, but clear in favor of Merab. It's very tough to pick against this guy. But, I mean, the line's super wide, in my opinion. It's like Merab, I don't think he's that much better than Sandhagen really anywhere outside of wrestling. Like, Sandhagen is very big, 5'11". He's very long. He's going to have a height advantage, a reach advantage, a striking advantage. Corey Sandhagen's volume is very good, and I just like the variety of striking and the tools that Sandhagen has on the feet. And then in terms of the grappling, Sandhagen does have very slick grappling. He's been working with Ryan Hall a lot, but Merab's going to be able to kind of dictate where this fight takes place. Like Merab, if he wants to strike, he'll strike. If he wants to mix in takedowns, he'll mix in takedowns, and Merab's a guy that can attempt 50 takedowns if need be. So, yeah, I think Sandhagen will have some moments, will land some shots, will land a decent amount of volume here, but I expect Merab to win this fight. I'm expecting maybe a 49, 46, 48, 47s even, but I like Merab to get it done. I just really don't like the line. But give me Merab by decision. I'm not picking against this guy, I don't think, ever again. So, yeah, Merab by decision in this one. All right, before we move on to the main event, now is a great time to sign up on DFSbythenumbers.com, especially for this week, because I have a ton of action. There's a ton of content. My fingers actually hurt so bad for the amount of bet write-ups I've done this week, because I think, the most action I've had in a very, very long time, and just a ton of bets. So now's a great time to sign up, check it all out, to get access to all my UFC stats, write-ups for all my bets. Got the best bet article where I break down the entire card, give my pick, the prediction, the round, the method, the best bet, and the confidence rating. I throw some long shot props out there as well. First notice on all bets, access to the Discord, and then all Dana White's Contender Series content, which is doing a ton of for DWCS as well. So check me out. It's absolutely the best way to support me on DFSbythenumbers.com. And yeah, come join the Discord, trying to keep growing that community. And yeah, we'll see you there. All right, main event. Magomed Ankalaev going against Alex Pereira. And yeah, looking forward to the main event. The first fight wasn't the most exciting fight. I kind of feel like that might change here. As we know, rematches, they don't always play out the same, and I don't really expect this one to. And if it does play out the same, I think it'd be a huge error on the Pereira side. And, what I think is going to happen here is I think we're going to see a much, much more aggressive Pereira. In their first fight, Pereira landed only 11 head strikes. That's not good. That's not typical Pereira. And, he's made some excuses, and maybe they're valid, maybe they're not, that he was hurt, he was only, 40%, whatever. I think we're going to see a more aggressive version of Pereira. But, even then, I'm very worried about Alex Pereira. It's like people are forgetting, like, this guy's 38 years old. He's 38 years old. He's been fighting, especially, kickboxing especially, for a very long time. He's taken a lot of damage. And he's a guy that I'm just not completely sold. He's still bought in, right? Like, he's making millions and millions of dollars. This guy kind of came from nothing. Now all of a sudden, he's, fucking some of the hottest bitches you'll ever see. And when there's bitches involved, it's very hard to focus. It's very hard to, run the extra mile. It's very hard to, wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning when you got a couple bitches, hanging around you. And I'm just not sure he's bought in. And you can kind of see in his performances, like the Roundtree performance. It wasn't a great performance. The Ankalaev, their first fight, it was a horrible performance. And he's only getting older. Time's ticking, right? So I'm kind of worried we might see even a more regressed version of Pereira. And whereas Ankalaev, Ankalaev's bought in. I mean, look at him. I mean, if you're going to look like that, you got to be bought in. This guy's getting no bitches. Absolutely zero bitches. He's in the gym every single day for hours on end, working. I think he's hungry. He's very hungry and a lot more hungrier than Alex Pereira. So Pereira's live to land a big shot. He has a ton of power, but I think it's actually going to be Ankalaev that lands that big shot. We saw him almost finish Pereira in that second round. We've seen Pereira hurt and wobbled multiple times in the UFC, and I think with Pereira being more aggressive, that's going to force Ankalaev to be more aggressive, and we've seen it time and time again. When guys are aggressive against Ankalaev, he makes them pay, and he makes them pay in brutal and violent fashion. So I'm actually going to take Ankalaev to win this fight, and Ankalaev to win this fight by third round knockout. There you guys have it. Those were the predictions for UFC 320. If you guys can do me a favor, like on your way out, subscribe, leave me a comment down those significant strikes. Check out dfsbythenumbers.com and be on the lookout for more content throughout the week. The betting breakdown video will be out on Friday, and I'm going to try to go live either Friday or Saturday as well for some final thoughts or a last look. So best of luck, everybody, for UFC 320, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.